The Loveland Investigation, a cryptozoologist's account. Brendan Winchester, field researcher. Field report, Loveland Frog, Loveland, Ohio. April-May 2034. Prologue, earning the right. It's been 2.5 years since Bray Road. 2.5 years of grunt work, field training, therapy, and slow, painful growth from arrogant disaster into something resembling a competent researcher. Dr. Martinez finally gave me permission to conduct my own investigation. Not anything dangerous, she was very clear about that. You're ready for something small and non-threatening, she said. Something where the worst-case scenario is you don't find anything, not that someone gets hurt. The Loveland Frog fit perfectly. A cryptid reported in Ohio since the 1950s, described as a 3 to 4 foot tall bipedal creature with frog-like features. No reports of aggression, no attacks on humans, just occasional sightings of something weird near the Little Miami River in Loveland, Ohio. I spent 3 months planning this investigation. Not 3 days of excited online research like Bray Road, 3 actual months of proper preparation. Reading every documented sighting report, consulting with local historians and wildlife experts, studying the ecology of the Little Miami River area, developing comprehensive safety protocols, even for a non-aggressive cryptid, creating detailed observation plans reviewed by Dr. Martinez, arranging partnerships with local research groups, establishing communication protocols and emergency procedures. Dr. Martinez reviewed my plans 3 times, making corrections and suggestions each time. The final protocol document was 40 pages long. For a cryptid that's never hurt anyone. This is excessive, I told her after the 3rd revision. This is thorough, she corrected. This is how you prevent Bray Road from happening again. You over-prepare for everything now, even the boring investigations. That's how you build proper habits. She's right. I learned at Bray Road that you can't just be careful about dangerous cryptids. You have to approach everything with the same methodical preparation, or you'll get sloppy when it matters. I'm also doing this investigation completely alone. No friends, no partners, no one to put at risk if I screw up. Dr. Martinez approved this decision. You need to prove you can handle fieldwork responsibly by yourself before you can be trusted with other people's safety. Fair. So here I am in Loveland, Ohio, ready to investigate something small and probably non-existent, with enough preparation to make it the most boring, methodical cryptid investigation in history. It's exactly what I need. Day 1. Arrival and community engagement. I arrived in Loveland on April 15, 2034. The town is small, pleasant, nestled along the Little Miami River. Population around 13,000, known more for its bike trails and river activities than for cryptids, though the Loveland Frog has become part of local folklore. My first stop wasn't the river or potential sighting locations. It was the Loveland Historical Society. One of Dr. Martinez's key lessons. Always start with community engagement. Always build relationships before you start investigating. Locals have knowledge and perspectives you can't get from online research. I met with Margaret Hendricks, the Historical Society's president, and explained my research honestly. I'm here to investigate reports of the Loveland Frog. I'm approaching this as a serious field biology project, not as entertainment or sensationalism. I'd like to learn about the history of sightings and get your perspective on the phenomenon. She studied me for a moment. You're young. Are you one of those YouTube cryptid hunters? No, ma'am. I'm a field researcher working under Dr. Elena Martinez at UC Davis. This is part of my training in proper cryptozoological methodology. And you want to find our frog? I want to document whether there's any legitimate basis for the reports. If there is something unusual in the area, I want to understand it and advocate for its protection. If there isn't, I want to document that conclusively. She nodded, apparently satisfied. All right, let me show you what we have. The Historical Society had files on Loveland frog sightings going back to 1955. The earliest report came from a businessman who claimed to see 3 frog-like creatures standing upright under a bridge, each about 3 feet tall. In 1972, 2 separate police officers reported seeing a similar creature near the river. Occasional reports had continued since, though none recently. Most people think it's just folklore now, Margaret said. A fun local legend. Some business owners have embraced it. There's a Loveland Frog coffee shop. Some gift stores sell frog merchandise. It's become more tourist attraction than serious mystery. Do you think it's real? I think people saw something. Whether that something was a cryptid or a large iguana or a trick of light, I can't say. But the early witnesses were credible people who gained nothing from their reports except ridicule. That suggests genuine experiences, even if we can't explain what they experienced. Over the next 2 days, I interviewed several longtime residents. A woman whose father was one of the 1972 police officers who reported seeing the creature. A fisherman who claimed to see something unusual in the river in 1989. Several skeptics who thought the whole thing was exaggerated or fabricated. Business owners who enjoyed the tourism angle but didn't take it seriously. Every interview was recorded, transcribed, and added to my documentation. Dr. Martinez had taught me, even negative results or skeptical perspectives are data. Document everything. Day 3-5. Site survey and preparation. Before attempting any nighttime observations, when most sightings occur, I spent 3 days conducting daytime surveys of the area, the Little Miami River and surrounding regions, mapping potential observation points, escape routes, and communication dead zones. This is the boring part of cryptid investigation. Hours of walking, taking notes, photographing locations, assessing terrain. No excitement, no creature encounters, just methodical preparation. At Bray Road, I skipped all of this. I had a vague idea of where sightings occurred and drove straight there with no preparation. That carelessness contributed directly to Lana's injuries. Now I over-prepare. I know every trail in the observation area. I've identified 3 separate emergency egress routes from each location. I've tested cell phone coverage throughout the region. I've documented potential hazards, slippery riverbanks, poison ivy patches, areas with poor visibility. It's tedious. It's also how you prevent disasters. I also established relationships with local authorities. I met with the Loveland Police Department, explained my research, and provided them with my schedule and contact information. If something went wrong, they'd know where to find me. The officer I spoke with, Officer Daniels, was the son of one of the 1972 officers who'd reported seeing the creature. My dad never changed his story, he told me. Said he saw something that looked like a large frog or lizard standing upright by the road. It had leathery skin, was maybe 3 to 4 feet tall, and moved in a way that didn't match any animal he knew. He retired a few years later, partly because people never stopped giving him shit about the frog sighting. Do you believe him? I believe he saw something. Whether it was what he thought it was, I don't know. But he wasn't a liar, and he wasn't prone to exaggeration. If he said he saw a frog creature, then he saw something that looked like a frog creature. Have there been recent sightings? Nothing official. Occasional claims from tourists or kids, but nothing that felt credible. Whatever was here in the 70s, it's either gone or gotten much better at hiding. That's valuable information. It suggests that if the Loveland frog exists, it's either rare, transient, or extremely reclusive. My chances of seeing anything are low. That's okay. Low chances are acceptable. Zero preparation is not. Day 610. Observation Protocol. I established 3 observation posts along the Little Miami River in areas where historical sightings had occurred. Each post was equipped with motion-activated trail cameras, 2 per location, different angles, audio recording equipment, infrared motion sensors, clear emergency communication protocols, prepositioned emergency supplies, first aid, communication devices, emergency shelter. I rotated between the 3 locations, spending 4 to 5 hours at each post during peak activity times, dusk to midnight. This is Dr. Martinez's systematic observation approach, patient, methodical coverage of likely areas rather than chasing rumors or hunches. For 5 nights, I documented exactly nothing unusual. Regular wildlife, deer, raccoons, possums, various birds, river sounds, occasional human activity, people on the bike trails, despite posted hours. Normal, mundane observations. This is what most cryptid investigation actually is. Hours of sitting in the dark documenting normal animals and hearing nothing unusual. It's boring. It's also legitimate field research. At Bray Road, I lasted exactly one boring night before deciding I needed more action, more excitement. That impatience led directly to disaster. Now I understand that boredom is the default state of proper investigation, and patience is the most important skill. On night 6, something changed. Day 11, the sighting. I was at observation post 2, near a bridge where one of the 1972 sightings occurred. It was around 10:30 p.m., overcast, no moon. I was reviewing my notes and half watching the river when one of my motion sensors activated. Something was moving along the riverbank, maybe 40 yards from my position. I activated my night vision equipment and scanned the area. At first, I saw nothing unusual. Then it moved again and I got a clear view. It was approximately 3 feet tall, bipedal, moving with a distinctive hopping walking gait. The body proportions were unusual, large head relative to body size, long hind limbs, small forelimbs held close to the chest. In the green tint of the night vision, I could see what appeared to be smooth, wet-looking skin. It moved along the riverbank, paused to appear to examine something, possibly feeding, then continued into the water and disappeared. The entire observation lasted maybe 45 seconds. I sat absolutely still, barely breathing, and did something that would have been incomprehensible to Bray Road-era Brendan. I didn't immediately chase it or try to get closer. I stayed at my observation post, documented what I'd seen in my field notes, and waited to see if it would return. Didn't. After 2 hours with no further activity, I carefully packed my equipment and returned to my vehicle, following my pre-planned route, maintaining safety protocols. Back at my lodging, I reviewed the trail camera footage. One camera had captured several seconds of the creature moving along the riverbank, distant, partially obscured by vegetation, but clearly showing the bipedal gait and unusual proportions. It wasn't definitive proof of anything. The footage could potentially be a large iguana or monitor lizard, though neither species is native to Ohio. Could be a deformed raccoon or other mammal. Could be something else entirely. But it was strange. Genuinely strange. And I documented it properly, from a safe distance, without putting myself or anyone else at risk. That felt like success. Day 12:15, follow-up observations. Encouraged by the sighting but determined not to become obsessive or reckless, I continued systematic observations for another 4 days. I saw the creature once more, briefly in similar circumstances, moving along the riverbank before entering the water. I also found tracks. In soft mud near the river, I discovered what appeared to be 3-toed prints, approximately 4 inches long, with webbing visible between the toes. The stride pattern suggested bipedal hopping locomotion. I photographed the tracks extensively, made measurements, created plaster casts, all without disturbing the area more than necessary, all following proper evidence collection protocols. On day 15, I conducted my final night observation. No further sightings, but I'd collected sufficient data to write a legitimate report. I documented something unusual, possibly a cryptid, possibly an exotic species, possibly something else. The evidence was modest but methodically gathered. More importantly, I'd conducted the entire investigation without a single safety violation, without putting anyone at risk, without rushing or taking unnecessary chances. Every decision had been deliberate, careful, and in accordance with established protocols. Dr. Martinez had told me that success in cryptid investigation isn't always about finding creatures. Sometimes it's about conducting fieldwork competently and safely, regardless of results. By that measure, this investigation was a success. Day 16, consultation and analysis. Before leaving Loveland, I met with a herpetologist at the University of Cincinnati, Dr. James Patterson. I'd contacted him before beginning the investigation, and he'd agreed to examine any evidence I collected. I showed him the footage, the photographs, and the track casts. He studied them carefully, taking his time, making notes. "Well," I asked, trying not to sound too eager. "It's unusual," he said carefully. The proportions don't match any North American amphibian or reptile I'm familiar with. The bipedal locomotion is particularly interesting. Very few amphibians move that way for extended periods. Could it be an escaped exotic pet? Monitor lizard or large iguana? Possibly. We've had issues with exotic reptiles being released in various regions. A large iguana could potentially survive in Ohio during warmer months, though winter would be a problem. But the movement pattern doesn't quite match iguanas. They're more quadrupedal, less consistently bipedal. So what am I looking at? Honestly, I don't know. It could be an exotic species, could be an unknown native species, could be a known species exhibiting unusual behavior. The evidence is interesting but not conclusive. You'd need clearer footage, preferably in daylight, or a physical specimen for definitive identification. And the tracks. Consistent with your footage, something bipedal, three-toed, semi-aquatic. But again, not definitive without more context. It was exactly the kind of ambiguous result I should have expected. This is cryptozoology. Most investigations don't end with, "We found an unknown species." They end with, "We documented something interesting that requires further study." And I was okay with that, because I'd done the work right. I'd been patient, methodical, and safe. I documented what I could without taking unnecessary risks. The creature, whatever it was, remained undisturbed and unprovoked. That's successful cryptid investigation. Day 17, Departure and Reflection. I left Loveland with 2 brief video sequences showing something unusual, multiple photographs of tracks, plaster casts of prints, detailed field notes documenting observation conditions, interviews with local witnesses, professional herpetological analysis. I also left with something more important: confidence that I could conduct an investigation properly. No one got hurt. No unnecessary risks were taken. The creature, if it exists, was observed without being harassed or disturbed. This is what Bray Road should have been. Careful, boring, methodical work that produces modest results but doesn't destroy lives. On the drive back to California, I thought about the difference between the investigator who went to Bray Road and the one who just completed Loveland. Bray Road Brendan. Impulsive, arrogant, careless, prioritized excitement over safety. Loveland Brendan. Methodical, humble, cautious, prioritized safety over results. It's taken 2.5 years of work to make that transformation. And I'm not done. I'll be working on it for the rest of my career. But this investigation proved I'm capable of doing better than I was at Bray Road. That matters more than finding definitive proof of the Loveland frog. Conclusions. The Loveland frog may exist. I documented something unusual in the Little Miami River area. Something bipedal, roughly 3 feet tall, with frog-like or reptilian features. Whether this creature is an unknown species native to Ohio, an exotic species, escaped or released pet, a known species exhibiting unusual behavior, something else entirely, I cannot determine from the evidence collected. Further research would be required, ideally conducted by multiple researchers with specialized equipment and longer observation periods. What I can say with confidence: something unusual has been reported in this area since the 1950s. Historical witnesses appear credible and consistent. I personally observed something that didn't match typical Ohio wildlife. The phenomenon warrants further serious study. Whatever it is, it appears harmless to humans. Recommendations: continued monitoring of the Little Miami River area, collaboration with herpetologists and wildlife biologists, installation of better camera equipment at key locations, partnership with local authorities to document any future sightings, protection of riparian habitat that might support unusual species. What I've learned: this investigation taught me that cryptid research doesn't have to be dramatic to be valuable. Modest results gathered through proper methodology are more scientifically useful than spectacular claims based on careless work. I learned that patience is more important than ambition, that negative results, nights with no activity, are still legitimate data, that systematic observation produces better results than excited chasing. Most importantly, I learned that I'm capable of conducting investigations without recreating Bray Road. That given proper preparation and constant vigilance against my own worst impulses, I can do this work safely. That's the real accomplishment here. Not finding the Loveland frog, though I might have, but proving to myself and my mentors that I've grown beyond the arrogant kid who got his friend mauled. Personal reflection, growth, and perspective. It's been 2.5 years since Bray Road. This investigation, small, boring, methodical, represents everything I've learned in that time. I think about Lana constantly. Every safety protocol I followed in Loveland, I followed because of what happened to her. Every time I wanted to take a shortcut or push a little harder, I saw her in the hospital and chose caution instead. Her suffering taught me these lessons. That's not redemption. I don't think I get redemption, but it's purpose. It's ensuring her trauma wasn't meaningless, that it actually changed how I approach this work. Dr. Martinez called after I sent her my preliminary report. This is good work, Brendan. Methodical, careful, properly documented. You're ready for slightly more challenging investigations. Slightly more challenging. Not actually dangerous. Not yet. Maybe in a few more years. We'll see how you handle intermediate-level investigations first. But you've proven you can do the basics right. That's significant. It is significant, because 2.5 years ago, I couldn't be trusted to investigate anything without getting someone hurt. Now I can handle a small, non-threatening cryptid investigation competently. That's progress. Slow, boring, unglamorous progress, but progress nonetheless. A message to young researchers. If you're reading this and thinking about cryptid investigation, learn from both my reports, Bray Road and Loveland. One shows what happens when you approach this work carelessly. The other shows what it looks like when you do it right. The difference isn't talent or resources. I had the same trust fund backing both investigations. The difference is preparation, humility, and patience. Bray Road. 3 days of online research, no expert consultation, no safety protocols, arrogance and impatience. Loveland. 3 months of preparation, multiple expert consultations, comprehensive safety protocols, systematic patience. One investigation got my friend mauled. One investigation yielded modest but valuable results without anyone getting hurt. You can guess which approach I recommend. Cryptid investigation isn't about excitement or adventure. It's not about getting impressive footage or making dramatic claims. It's about patient, careful field research conducted with genuine respect for safety, ethics, and proper methodology. This is boring most of the time. That's okay. Boring is safe. Boring is competent. Boring is how you avoid destroying lives through carelessness. Learn this lesson from my reports instead of through your own catastrophic failure. Please, learn from my mistakes so you don't have to make them. Next steps. Dr. Martinez has suggested my next investigation could be the Thunderbird, reported in Native American territories across the western U.S. It's more challenging than the Loveland frog, larger, potentially dangerous, but less dangerous than creatures like the Dogman or Wendigo. I'll spend 6 months preparing, learning about Native American perspectives on the Thunderbird, studying raptor biology, developing safety protocols for observing large aerial predators, building relationships with indigenous communities who hold traditional knowledge. 6 months of preparation for one investigation. That seems excessive to most people. To me, after Bray Road, it seems barely adequate. I'm also continuing therapy. The guilt about Lana hasn't disappeared, and my therapist doesn't think it should. That guilt keeps you careful, she told me. It prevents complacency. The goal isn't to eliminate it, it's to carry it productively. Loveland proved I can carry it productively. I can take the lesson Lana's suffering taught me and use it to conduct better research. Research that doesn't hurt anyone, that contributes to legitimate knowledge, that respects both the creatures and the people involved. That's all I can do. Learn, grow, improve, and try to honor what happened to Lana by never letting it happen again. One investigation at a time. One safety protocol at a time. One careful, boring, methodical field session at a time. It's not glamorous, but it's right. And after Bray Road, right is all that matters. Brendan Winchester. Field researcher, UC Davis Cryptid Research Project. May 2034. The Loveland Frog may exist. I documented something unusual but couldn't determine what it was definitively. That's okay. This investigation wasn't about finding conclusive proof. It was about proving I could conduct fieldwork safely and methodically. After Bray Road, that matters more than any cryptid discovery. I'm learning, slowly, carefully, with genuine respect for the danger that carelessness creates. Lana's suffering taught me these lessons. I'm trying to honor that by doing the work right. This is what growth looks like. Modest results achieved through proper methodology, without anyone getting hurt. It's not exciting. It's exactly what I need to be doing. Addendum. Dr. Martinez's assessment. Included with permission. Brendan Winchester came to me 2.5 years ago as probably the worst cryptid investigation disaster I'd ever seen. He'd gotten someone seriously injured through pure arrogance and carelessness. I agreed to mentor him partly because I felt sorry for him, but mostly because I wanted to make sure he never hurt anyone else. The Loveland investigation shows genuine growth. His preparation was thorough. His methodology was sound. His patience was remarkable considering his natural impulsiveness. And most importantly, his prioritization of safety over results was consistent throughout. He's still young. He's still learning. He'll probably never be as skilled as researchers like the Thatchers who've been doing this for decades. But he's becoming competent, and in this field, competent and safe is more valuable than brilliant and reckless. I'm recommending he continue with progressively more challenging investigations under guidance. He's earned that opportunity through sustained effort and genuine humility. The Bray Road disaster will define him forever, both as a cautionary tale and as motivation to do better. That's appropriate. Some mistakes are too serious to just move past. But he's using that mistake productively, turning catastrophic failure into careful growth. That's all any of us can do when we screw up badly. Learn from it, improve, and try to ensure it never happens again. Brendan's doing that. Slowly, imperfectly, but genuinely. That's worth acknowledging. Dr. Elena Martinez, UC Davis. End of report. The Loveland Frog remains mysterious. Brendan Winchester remains haunted by Bray Road but is learning to channel that guilt into careful, methodical research. Some redemption arcs are quick. Some take years. Some never quite reach redemption, just sustained effort to be better than you were. This is the latter. And after what happened at Bray Road, that's exactly what it should be.